Hey, welcome everybody. Today we're talking about getting paid if you have been the victim of a violent crime. So why would you get paid? Well, because let's see, you have medical bills, you may need a therapist, you may have time off work, pain and suffering. And we have a special guest with us today. Her name's Hillary Johns. She's an attorney and she deals specifically with these types of cases. And right now, I know she has a really high profile. You have a really high profile case going on right now that you can't talk about because it's making its way through the courts. But can you tell us about another case where you've gotten a victim some restitution, some compensation for the horrible acts that have been perpetrated upon them?
I can, Lana, and thank you for having me today. First, going to the criminal courts, I want to be clear, as part of a diversionary or plea bargain or court order, a perpetrator of violent crime can be ordered to pay restitution. That's in the criminal courts. We don't usually deal with those. It's not going to cover everything, but when you go, what you can do is get an attorney. There are several of them available. Unfortunately, sex assault and sex abuse, physical assault are becoming all too common these days.
Yeah.
People are resorting to violence. And I think people are more aware. There are a lot of attorneys who can assist you with not only recovering damages to your person. For example, if you broke your arm or your leg, you're fleeing an assailant and you fell or you tripped or you were able to, or you got beaten up, or you got physically hit and you had to go to the hospital, or you had to go get your rape crisis center, for example. All your medical bills, all of those things can be not guaranteed covered. But what is as important is the aspect of continuing therapy. A lot of people who are physically and sexually assaulted do need to get therapy. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with them. What it means is anybody who's been a victim of violent crime can be either way. You should go get checked out and make sure.
And that could be domestic violence too, right? Or even like a neighbor, like somebody that you know.
Anybody, it doesn't just have to be sexual assault from a stranger or someone you know. It can be a domestic violence. You certainly should consider therapy because it can be very traumatic and you can get what's called PTSD, which is not just reserved for vets. If you have a neighbor who is crazy or harassing you, that's as scary and can be as traumatic as being assaulted by a stranger because it's
And you won it one of those cases, didn't you? You won some restitution for somebody who's dealing with the crazy neighbor who came. This was a
we
great
did.
story. You told me that they came into that person's house with a gun, and
Yeah, they
how
did.
did that play out?
It unfortunately escalated because they thought they could handle it. They thought they'd say, hey, they had a few words, never imagining that this person would go into their residence with a gun. So this person didn't break in through a window or anything like that. They literally just came in through the back door that was open because they had a very nice patio, walked into it with a gun. And the police were called on another incident. There was other violent behavior. You don't always know, but it was extremely traumatic for both of them. They're being, someone has pulled a gun on you and is in your home. I mean, they literally have invaded
Yeah,
your home and broken and entered into your home and crossed.
and you were able to sue that guy, right? The guy who came in with the gun.
There were other legal
Yeah,
issues for that, but again, there's the battery and the physical assault, because they were pushing, like this kind of thing. But these are extremely traumatic. So getting back to what you can do is there are lawyers who can help you in the range. Some lawyers are very, very expensive, and that can cost a lot if you want to go with one of them. But you can also get a lawyer what's called a contingency. And there are lawyers who will say, like you see these a lot in auto accident and employment claims, where these lawyers will take it on contingency, but they get what's called a percentage of any settlement or verdict. So say, for example, this is not to say your case is worth this, you could get a settlement or a verdict for $500,000. Punitive damages, pain and suffering, your medical bills, therapy bills, what it's going to cost you, to how long you're going to be in therapy, because therapy, even if it's covered, is not cheap. Co-pays, it makes it better, but it's still not cheap. So you're probably realistically looking at is 25 to 40% of that will go to the lawyer, but you're getting representation up front in exchange for that. So
right. And it's money they would have never have gotten without an attorney,
that's
pretty much.
that's right.
Right.
I would really advise you. I have seen instances where private citizens with no legal training are successful in getting a settlement, but and would do just as well as an attorney was. those are few and far between. Generally speaking, it is a lot, but you're a lot better off getting a lawyer who knows what they're doing and can help you. Because if you don't do it that way, you're really putting yourself in a situation where it may be difficult to negotiate. It's the things you may not know. You may not know the value of your case. If they throw things at you like, oh, well, this is going to happen, you're not going to know how to react to it.
Okay. And I know, Hillary, you're down in LA, and I know that you've had celebrity clients before. You can't talk about it, you can't say what the names are, but I know you've had some A-list celebrity clients, and that you had one that had a stalker and you went after them.
We
You went
did.
after the
And
stalker.
and we did in this particular case because there had been, showing up at the home, showing weapons, threatened abductions or, keeping the person, almost like a false imprisonment type situation. And in that case, my client unfortunately really didn't have any other choice but to go to the courts to get help. I mean, there,
Yeah.
there really wasn't, it was not going to stop unless she did. And yeah, she was successful. It went to trial, but she was successful. But, but again, what she had said she was happiest about is not just the satisfaction of winning, but knowing that a lot of that stopped because it had to stop.
Yeah.
It was, you sort of had to make it stop. We also have cases matters that we have an office in the Bay Area. We're over in the East Bay too, as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know you are a licensed attorney in California, in New York, in Washington, D.C., and in Montana. And could you please put your contact information in the chat in case, I hope none of you ever need her services, but if you do, great. And let me make that visible for everybody. Okay. And so if you do ever need her services, please contact Hillary, or even if she doesn't want to take your case or can't take your case, she'll at least put you out in the right direction. Right?
Yeah, I will exactly do that. And we have offices in Northern and Southern California as well as in New York.
Great. Thank you so much for being with us today. That was a wealth of information and a lot of things I think people don't realize and they just don't know.
You're very welcome, Lana. Thank you for having me.